AMD's in the news a lot lately. We're talking about Navi for the PlayStation 5. You want to check out that video? Right up there. We're talking about how they're just rebranding the RX 500 series to RX 500X to sell to OEMs and laptops. That's disappointing. And by the way, yes, I know it was for OEMs. I know it's for laptops. It's still an issue because guess what? AMD used to label their cards with an X at the end to demonstrate increased performance, and that's not happening this time. And that's still super frustrating, and I'm going to wail about it. So deal with it. Then thirdly, we're going with numbers here. This is either positive news or negative news, depending on how you want to splice it, how you want to spin it. And so we're going with the positive route because it's going to be amazing. But then I'm going to talk about the negative because that's just what I do. But my friends, before we jump into all of that, I want to remind you that we have a second channel. Yes, UFD Deals, where we do our daily tech deals video, bringing you the best tech deals that we can find around the interwebs. Be sure to subscribe to get over there because we're going to be removing daily tech deals from the UFD Tech channel and just migrating it over there completely. So if you want to subscribe for daily tech deals, be sure to check out the link in the video description or the card that's right there. So here's the news. AMD Navi will give you GTX 1080 level performance for about $250. That's amazing. Well, Brett, you say, how could that possibly be spun as negative news? How is that anywhere near downcast? How is that anywhere near something that we don't want? Well, my friends, the reason we're getting GTX 1080 level performance for $250 is because that's basically all Navi might be able to do. So the article we're going to be taking from today is from Fudzilla. Their title is AMD Navi is no high-end GPU. Obviously, we're trying to spin it with a positive light, so we're going to say AMD Navi is an acceptable GPU for all of your gaming needs. Because, I mean, truth be told, who needs more than a 1080? Most of you don't, and if you do, you have a 1080 Ti, so you're not even looking at Navi right now. Anyways, so the article says, we've been sitting on this piece of information for a while, but maybe it's the right time to share it with you. Navi 7nm, the 2019 chip, will not be a high-end GPU. It will be a quite powerful performance/mainstream chip. Think of it as the RX 580 replacement. It will be small and is likely to perform as well as the Vega 14nm that shipped last year. In the NVIDIA performance world, Navi should perform close to GTX 1080, which is quite good for the mainstream part, but probably only on part of the mainstream part planned after the high-end part. That is really confusing. What is up with that writing, Fudzilla? What does that even mean? What are you trying to say? And then they just go on to talk about how Vega 7nm confirmed that it's not going to be in a desktop variant. We're not getting an RX Vega 56 in its 7nm process because that's going to just go to actual corporate environments and not anything for gamers. So we're not getting a Vega refresh this year. We're going to be getting a Navi setup in 2019, which means that my ranting and raving about the RX 500X not giving us anything worthwhile for AMD seems to maybe be holding true. Obviously, if this rumor comes to light, they're not citing any sources. They're just discussing things that they say are happening and that they know about because they're on the inside. The odd thing to me is that they're saying that this Navi 7nm will be an RX 580 replacement and that there's nothing else in the pipeline that could potentially compete in the high end until 2020 when we find out what's after Navi. The interesting and curious bit about that is the fact that, well, they said it's also supposed to be on par with Vega 14nm performance, which we already have, which beats RX 580, so it should be it should actually be better. How can that process be worse, but then also better, and then provide all of this information? But then, how can it provide GTX 1080 level performance, but then be not better than an RX 580? Are they just trying to say that it's not going to be a large die and that they're just going to try to do small die at first, which makes a whole lot of sense because if this is going to be the first GPU that's launched on a 7nm process, there's going to be a ton of kinks and bugs and things to work out that are going to be difficult. And so starting small, starting with an RX 580 replacement would make a ton of sense, except for the timeline is really frustrating. I really would like an RX 580 replacement sometime this year, not sometime next year. But instead, I didn't talk to you, Siri, back off. Obviously, it's not going to be possible to blow a 1080 Ti out of the water with the first 7nm GPU, and that it's going to take some time to develop it to the point where where the process is mature enough that you could produce something like that, which is why the 1080 Ti comes out after the GTX 1080 is because they have to refine a few things. And that's even why the GTX 1080 got a memory speed increase, was because they finally refined a few things, had a better memory controller, and they could up the memory speed. So it's not unprecedented that they start small and then work their way bigger. That happens for both NVIDIA and AMD. The curious part of that is the fact that they're saying that it's not, the Navi architecture as it is will not be high-end whatsoever. They're not saying that it's going to launch mid-tier and then progressively get better. They basically said it's just not going to get better. We're just going to get GTX 1080 for $250 in 2019, which, I mean, maybe we're already going to get if the GTX 1160 from NVIDIA is any better than, like, if we've been waiting 2 years for a new architecture, so if it's actually on par with it's supposed to be based on the roadmaps they have and the increased performance levels, like an 1160 should be kind of hitting 1080 level performance. That would be the general idea, maybe a little bit less. But then it's also, yeah, $200. Like that's what I would expect to pay. Obviously, there's the discussion that they're going to raise prices because GDDR6 is going to be expensive, and there's a whole slew of issues that go on that side. But then, so that's just the curious thing about that report about Navi to me. And the reason I'm discussing it, even though I'm kind of poo-pooing on it, is just the fact that I know that other places, other YouTube channels are going to be discussing it, and they're just going to be reporting on it. And I would like to report on that as well. It's something that I read, and I was like, gee, this is interesting. We should discuss this. But then at the same time, I'm just like, gee, that's super not interesting because it doesn't seem right. But then there's some more information about Navi that WCCF Tech it has been disclosing. Obviously, none of this is confirmed information. It's just things that they've been hearing in the industry that their rumor sources tell them. So we'll take this all with a heavy grain of salt. But the idea is that Navi is supposed to be like Ryzen in the sense that it uses Infinity Fabric and that they can stack multiple GPU dies next to each other. And then with that, we get performance that is not Crossfire level, but something that is like basically having double the performance of GPU without having to deal with the scaling issues, because it just can present itself as a single CPU, just like on Ryzen CPUs. I meant present itself as a single GPU. Just like with Ryzen CPUs, the Ryzen CPUs are made up of core complexes, which has 4 cores on this side, 4 cores on this side, and through Infinity Fabric, they communicate, and it looks like just one giant CPU, an 8-core CPU. Obviously, there is some performance degradation versus like the Intel 8-core CPUs with how they're communicating. It is highly dependent on the memory speed that you have in your system. But then at the same time, if we can get near that level of type of performance, like with AMD, with their Infinity Fabric on Navi, then we could be seeing, hey, you know what? This is a mid-tier. This is only ever going to be mid-tier. So we have a 1080 level performance, but guess what? You have 1080 SLI for double the, let's say it's going for $450. You got 1080 SLI performance, but instead of dealing with the issues that come with Crossfire and game support and not even being able to play video games because friggin' doesn't support SLI and just a whole bunch of other issues that can come with like a dual GPU card, you could avoid that because it would present itself to the system as a single GPU that can be addressed as one, and then the GPU itself addresses whichever core actually needs to do the heavy lifting at that point. This could also benefit the console aspect of it as well, because if you can fit 2 small dies and you can Crossfire them together, because this is AMD we're talking about. That's a better solution than what Sony's been presenting with the PS4 Pro, where it's basically a Crossfire solution that we're dealing with. If you have a PlayStation 4 Pro optimized game, it activates both GPU cores. If you just have a normal PS4 game, it only does 1 GPU core, and then it's a Crossfire. So there's missing performance. It's not performing as great as it could be as if it was a single GPU. And so Navi could present that. We could have the PS5, and then we have the PS5 Pro, where you have a single Navi chip on the PS5, but you have the dual Navi chip on a PS5 Pro, and then you get the actual double the performance, roughly. Like I would probably say it's about 95% scaling, or 195% scaling, whatever we want to call it. Obviously, tons of this is speculation. Obviously, none of this is anything set in stone, but I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to discuss this with you guys because it's interesting. That's what this video series is, these 8 a.m. videos that we're releasing, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Like, this is supposed to be news that I'm seeing that's really interesting, whether or not it's a rumor, whether or not it's verified or not. Let's have a discussion about it because it's super, like, it's intriguing. Like, I want to know what's coming after Polaris. I want to know what's coming after Vega. How dare they say that Navi is not going to be any better than Polaris Polaris or Vega, whatever they're saying, because I didn't even understand. Like, it's gonna be like mid-tier, but then it's not gonna be any better than Vega. But Vega's not mid-tier, Vega's high-tier. So what are they even trying to say? I'm super confused. Anyways, that's the whole point of this video. It's a rambling series, it's a discussion. Thank you guys so much for dealing with the travel. It should be coming to a close shortly, but here's some travel that, you know, I'm in a garage. Here in my garage, I don't have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. I'm so sorry, everybody. I've disappointed you heavily. Anyways, with that, I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Be sure to smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. Get subscribed to this channel for tech-related stuff. Get subscribed to the UFD Deals channel to get daily tech deals. And that's it. Yeah, goodbye. Thanks. Cheers. Yeah, tired. Oh.